And welcome again to the Inner Life's Archer Show, and I'm your host today, Vernon Robinson, standing in, or I wish I would say standing in, but standing beside Qualam Rashid, even though he's not present with us today. Hey, brother, and I wish you well, and I will be by to see you soon. We have a really important guest here today, and we're going to have a conversation with someone who I've known for a number of years. In fact, I've known all my life. And this person here is my first cousin, LaDonna Alexander. And the show is going to be about her book. She wrote a book that I read. And the book is, I'm going to let her tell you after I give her an introduction what the book is about. But in my reading the book, I was so impressed. And I was so thoroughly moved by this book that she put together, I had to have her on the show so we could just have a conversation about it. Now, this is her first book, and this is her first interview, and I'm so grateful and thankful that it's an interview with my cousin, LaDonna Alexander. Now, LaDonna, introduce yourself.
Well, I want to thank you, Vernon, my almost favorite, but you know, I got to add the favorites to the right ones, but right now you're the favorite.
Okay, right now.
Cousin, I want to thank you for letting me be here, and this is new to me, so...
Well, I know it's new, but we're going to have a blast. What we're going to do is just have us a really good conversation. And what we want to talk about, first and foremost, is this book that you've written. And we're going to take our time about it, and we've got an hour. We're going to just chew it up, and we're going to talk about the things that you need to talk about, that you want to talk about. But first and foremost, what I like to do, we have... Oh, there's my daughter. I see. Hey, now listen. Now, this is in Life's Archives, and this is live, and so what we're going to do is just hang out here. So what we're doing actually is just opening you up to a conversation that's among family members. So feel as though you're very privileged to hear about this. Now, also what we're doing, we have our other cousin, LaDonna's brother, Bobby, who is filming this. And he's filming this to make a DVD track for the book of her first interview, of her first novelette, right?
Yes.
That's what you would call it?
Yeah.
And I'm going to hold the book up. This is it right here. It's called Love, Love, Love. Now, how I came to be aware of this book that my cousin wrote was that I got a phone call from one of our other cousins. And she asked me to come to a book signing that LaDonna was having at her house. And I had no idea that she had written a book. I had no idea what the book was about at all. But when I heard that she wrote a book, I was so impressed I had to get there. And when I got there, it was such a lovely experience. And it was all family there and a few friends. And it was a wonderful occasion to see my cousin, who has just become an author. Or has just become a published author, I should say, because she was an author long before the book got published. And so now she's has put this book together. We were at the book signing, and she spoke on the book, and it was so beautiful. I said, "Cuz, you got to come to the radio program so we can get you out. Let me just talk about it, because I want to talk some more about it." Now, at the book signing, what I said, or what you said in there, is that you have been journaling for what, since how long?
Since I was in elementary school. I started journaling. I would always write little notes, and every day I would figure out things that impressed me that day, and I guess I wanted to just remember what I've done, so I would write it down, and I had my little books, and every day I tell myself something happy, that anything that gave me joy or peace that day. And so I've been journaling for many years. I still do.
Now, well, how much of your journaling and everything brought you into being able to write this book? How did that come about? That's what I want to know. We want to get to the heart of it. Let's go.
That came when my mother and I used to talk about the family. And Mama would always give me such wonderful information about our family and our grandparents. And I knew the grandparents, you know, when I was a little girl. My grandfather died when I was around 12. But my grandmother lived all the way till I was about 21 years old. So I knew her very well. And I loved her. So she would tell me stories about them. And in those stories, I was so intrigued with it that I decided I wanted to do family history. So my mom and I would go over to Oakland and to the Mormon temple, and we would research family. And I just was so involved till we would go, and it would be holidays, and they would be closed, and I would be so upset.
Did you get addicted to it?
I was so addicted. If you can be addicted to knowing about your people.
I heard that.
I was addicted.
Right.
And so finally, one of the people in the Mormon temple told me that I could sign up for Ancestry.com and I can actually go home and I can get it on the computer. So I start paying for it. I've been paying for it now about 10 years.
Religiously.
I have never let anything, no check bounce.
That's a real convert.
So, I could have bought 2 or 3 cars.
I knew you were into genealogy. I knew you were studying about the family.
Right.
But I thought it was just for, personal history, because we all grew up with a variety of stories, like we were speaking on our way over here on the train. And I thought it was just that. No idea about the book. Now, what about this research made you want to become a writer, or made you want to especially write about our grandparents? Because, folks, that's what the book is about.
Yes.
It says love, 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 but this book is about the beginnings of our grandmother and grandfather,
in the
our mother's mother and father, how they met. And I ain't going to tell everything. I'm going to let you go ahead, but that's what the book is about. Go ahead.
So from doing the research, I was enjoying so much about it, I decided I'm going to write about them. And I didn't know if I was going to publish anything. I thought I was just going to write it, and we can just make copies and share it with the family. But in my writing, some of my friends, they had wrote a book, and I thought maybe I could write a book. So I started doing my research, trying to find someone to publish, because I didn't know how you really do that. But I saw that there was a such thing as self-publishing. And when I saw that, I went online and did a lot of them, and nothing really interested me. And then found one that I kind of thought this will work for me. And I saw that they didn't work too well. So,
well, when you say they didn't work too well, what do you mean?
Well, it was just the way they wanted me to do the work, do all the work, and they get all the money.
That sure don't work too well. I don't blame you.
So I said, this is not going to be fun.
We were on our way over here. You told me something. You said that if it don't feel right to me, I'm just not going to do it. That didn't feel too good.
That didn't feel good.
Okay, go ahead.
So I talked to my brother about publishing and everything, and my brother's like me. He's a go-getter. And he did some research, and he says, you know what, I could publish you a book. I can publish you a book. And so he started working on some stuff.
Just like that, no doubt, no hesitation, let's go.
Yeah, he started working on some things.
Had he read any of your manuscripts? Had he read it?
I let him read a little bit, and he was happy.
Okay.
Yes, he was happy. Matter of fact, I'm going to read what he said.
Go right ahead.
Okay.
You need your other eyes? Because I definitely need mine when I read.
No, if it's up close, I don't have to have other eyes.
That's what I need them for, up close. Okay.
Okay.
But go ahead. Just 1 second here. Listen, now, I'm making this quick pause, y'all, because I'm telling you it's hot in here, and I need me a paper towel. We both do, so we can wipe the sweat off our head. I want y'all to know when y'all
beautiful day.
hear anything go, wonderful day, wonderful day, wonderful day. That we got, I know, you didn't bring me enough. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, now this is what my brother wrote when, because you can have people do praising of your writing, and he had read my book. And he said, I really enjoyed reading this book about my maternal grandparents, even though it was made up of supposed events, dressed up in hats, coats, and shoes with sandwiches that exist only in dreams. It was still a delightful dream. It had a way of making the days of their lives seem more real and tangible. Seeing that it was interspersed with many real facts added a color and shape to the many isolated stories we've heard about them through the years. I must say, I look forward to reading part 2 of the John Mack and Della story.
And that's very well said, and that's absolutely true, because, we've all had these little bits and pieces of stories, and we've all seen Grandmama and Grandpapa coming up.
Oh, yeah.
But the way that you colored them and the way that you brought their character to life in the early stages to see them as men and women, that's what I want to talk about.
Okay.
Let's go back. Now, the book starts out in 1905, am I right?
I think it's more like, about 1905.
About 1905. Yeah. And you go on to tell now,
1907.
1907. Okay. Well, 100 years ago, y'all.
Yes. Yeah, we could be a little off there.
We might be off a year or two, but
Yeah.
we're going back over 100 years
Yeah.
in our family story of the meeting of my grandmother and my grandfather, our grandmother and our grandfather.
Correct.
Now, when you write, and as you wrote this story about it, what moved you to just write about them and this title here, Love, Love, Love? What was it about Grandmama and Grandpapa that made this stand out so much?
We've always, the stories that we've heard over the years was always a loving man that loved his wife dearly and his family. So you don't see a lot of that as years have gone by. So with that said, I decided that I wanted to tell a story about a family I knew that loved each other. And how they respected each other as a man and a wife, and how they took care of their children, and how their children all came to be pretty much the same way with their families. And they have longevity with their marriages and everything. So all of that just impressed me, so I decided I'm going to tell my story.
Well, at what point in time, yeah, go ahead. There you go.
And my thing was, is I wanted my children to be able to see what a family could really be like.
Now, when we were talking about it, I asked you a question about, you know, the things that came together that made you get so involved, and how you came about to write it the way you did in terms of dressing the characters up. And you began to describe to me, I think I called it the creative process. What was going on in you? Because, you know, what's happening? Tell me about how you were able to put these words onto the page and take all these stories, put them together, and come up with what you did.
Do I really have to tell it like it?
Okay, all right, listen. Ordinarily, people, we don't censor this, but we're going to censor this a little bit.
Okay.
Tell what you want to tell.
Censor a little bit.
A little bit.
Well, you know, nobody's family is just perfect. So,
Exactly.
and I was going through some little marital things, and I started to, when I would write this book, I started to live the life I wanted in this book. And so when I write, and I remember things that I know, and then the rest I've add, I would put myself as my grandmother. And when I would write as if she was me back in 1900. So in that case, I had to go and do research to make sure I could be able to do this.
But you know, you were telling me now also something a little deeper than that. We're going to dig a little bit here. We're going
just a little bit.
We're going to put a no trespassing sign on certain things, but we're going to dig a little while.
Okay.
All right, now you just hold your hand up and say, all right, that's enough. Oh, I got to tell you this quick story real quick. When I said that's enough, it made me sound like Grandpapa when he said,
oh, yeah.
All right, that's enough. You know, my grandmama was known for fussing. She said she didn't need anybody to fuss. She could fuss by herself.
That's right.
But she honored my grandfather so much so that when she would be fussing, he'd let her go on, and when he got tired, he'd look over his newspaper and say, all right, Della, that's enough. So that's what that reminded me of. Okay, when you put your hand and say, that's enough.
Okay, so if I do show you
anyway,
hand.
So now you just mentioned that you were going through some things in your own life, right? And when you wrote, you kind of got into I'm going to call it a time warp.
Yeah.
You put yourself into Grandmama's place.
Right.
Okay, so that means to me that when you wrote about Grandpapa, you put him into the kind of man's place that you would want to have, or the character. Because what I noticed when I read the book was that there was the story of two people meeting, a man and a woman. But underneath the story of Grandmama and Grandpapa meeting, what I saw was the foundation or the fundamental truths of how a relationship will last.
Exactly.
In both the character of the man and the woman, in both the character of Grandmama and Grandpapa, the way that you attended to the conversations that they had between one another.
Exactly.
And it seems to me that that's what you were trying to do, is to give an example of what an ideal man, and not really an ideal man because he was, but he was a real man.
Yes, right.
And the way that you wrote about him, that's the way I saw him.
Okay.
You know, so what about that? I mean, let's go there.
Okay.
Yes, all right, come on, man, we're going to go.
He was an ordinary man.
Yeah.
But he was a man that had principles and purpose in his life. And from what I knew him, from what I've known of him, I knew that. And I knew how she was, too. She was a very stern woman, and she lived her life with her children in mind first. But before that, she it was just him and her for
Right.
a lot of years
Right.
without ever having any children.
And
which
that's
was
what this
kind of
particular volume
unusual.
covers. Just
Exactly.
This is just
They
them two.
spent a lot of time just him and her
Right.
before they had children. And so I know for myself, I wanted that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Well, that kind of thing. Tell me about that kind of
that
thing.
kind of thing.
Yeah, tell
yeah.
me about that kind of thing.
That kind of relationship
Okay.
with a man.
Right.
And so when I would write, I would always think about them.
Mm.
And as I put things together and people would give me information, I put it in, and then all that I didn't know, it just came out.
Mhm.
You know, it was just coming to me, and it's like, wow. So it was a fantasy world for me
Mhm.
to make me live my purpose in life,
Mhm.
in my relationship, and know how to stand for what I believe in.
Well, that's a good thing. But like I said, I'm really glad you did it because you really did show. And what I got out of the whole thing was love, trust, and communication.
Yeah.
You know, because in the way that you interplayed the characters,
Mhm.
situations came up.
Oh, yeah.
And there had to be some communication
Yes.
take place in order to get through those situations
Oh, yeah.
and get past to the other side so trust could really be established.
Exactly.
And so communication was really important. And I have to say they had to have it because how long would Grandmama and Grandpapa marry? Till death do them part, right?
To the end.
To the end, all the way to, the end, from the
end.
very beginning.
And
Describe, as you did in the book, I want you to describe to some of the reasons. We're not going to give you the whole book because we want you to buy the book, but we're going to give you tidbits of it. Describe how Grandmama and Grandpapa met, what happened, you know, and the very beginning of these two strangers meeting. Describe that.
Yeah. Well, she was a young woman, 16.
Mm-hmm.
And he was about
Go and say a
20.
young fine woman because she had
Yeah,
big leg, bow leg.
young, good-looking woman. Yeah.
Chocolate caramel, long way,
Yes,
all that kind of
yes,
stuff.
yes.
Turn a man's head.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
And he was 25 years old.
Uh-huh.
So he was up there in age. So he was a man's man. He already knew
Yeah.
life. And she was just a young teenager. But back then, you were much older in your life than you are now. These
Right.
young kids, 16, 15, they know nothing. But back then, you worked hard and you did a lot of things. So you were much more adult.
Right.
So they were having, they called it the tracking meetings.
And
And
that
it would
is?
come, it's when churches would come to your church and they would have a long week of just different pastors coming in and out preaching that whole
Or what we
week.
call revivals now.
Yes.
Okay.
But it was called tracking meetings at that
All right.
time. So he happened to come to her church.
Mhm.
And she's looking all around with her young friend, and she catches his eye, and they look at each other.
Mhm.
And he was like, woo-wee, and I guess she was woo-wee too.
Yeah.
So at the end of church, she couldn't help but to get outside because she wanted to really see if he'd,
Mhm.
have something to say to her, and he did. So they met that day and asked each other's names and got that. And he wanted to know if she was coming back to that church again or was that her church. And she said, this is my church. And he was visiting. He says, well, I'd like to come back and see you again if you're not with someone. And she says, I'm not with nobody.
Uh-oh, he went straight for the market. She opened the door.
So he came, and so when they left that day, she told her friend, I'm going to marry that man.
Uh-huh.
That's what she said. And this is in true life. She said, I'm going to marry that man.
Now, for all you ladies out there, that shows you that if your eye is on the prize, you better commit to it because that's what she did. She saw a prize, and she said, I'm going to marry that
She
man.
wanted
Now,
it.
what about Grandpapa now? Now, it wasn't just no one-way street
Oh,
over
yeah.
there. She
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
just grab him, and he ain't had nothing to say about it.
Oh, he had lots to say.
Well, tell me what he had to say.
Well,
Without telling the whole book, y'all, I want to whet your palate for it. I want to give you a little drip of it so you can get excited about
Yes.
this story. Because this is a true story, interlaced with some what you call it, artistic liberty.
oh, yeah.
Okay, but nevertheless, this is a true story.
Yeah.
This is about our grandparents who were the cause of so many people, so many
Yeah.
children, so many
Yeah.
families being present in life today.
Exactly.
So now, what about Grandpapa? Now,
So
what type of guy
then,
was
he was
he? That young man.
he was a handsome man.
And tell him his name.
His name was John Mack Russell.
And they called him what?
Mack.
Mac.
Now,
Go ahead.
we didn't call him Mac
I know.
Daddy.
No,
now,
not
just
Mac.
Mac.
But
And
you know.
some people call him Brother Mac.
Yeah.
Okay, but Mac was a handsome man,
Mhm.
beautiful hair. He was from an Indian descent, so You know, he had high cheekbones. He had a nice build, and he loved to dress. So I think that's why all of those Russells and stuff just love clothes and shoes and hats and all the good stuff. So Mac was a real well-dressed man. And Della was a person that knew how to sew, and she got her sewing from her grandmother. And so she was in the seamstress world, and he was a blacksmith.
Right.
So they didn't really ever just really work hard in the fields, because they actually had
skills
careers.
Right. They were entrepreneurs, as we call them.
Already,
Right.
And so she asked him to come to dinner because she could cook.
Yeah, she could cook too.
She could cook.
Yeah.
So he said, "I thought you would ever ask me." So anyway, she said she knew she was going to make sure he eat good that day. She fried that chicken and collard greens and with cornbread, and she went to the tree. She said, "I'm going to pull off enough lemons to make this man some sweet lemonade."
Now, again, ladies, I'm going to tell you again. Now, you know, there's that old saying, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. You know, especially when you can really put your foot in it. Now, go down there and pick some lemons off a lemon tree. Look at my daughter looking at me like, I ain't going to do that, Daddy. But go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead, cuz. Tell us some more. This is a wonderful story, y'all. I'm telling you.
Yeah, and so she was cleaning house and getting that house ready for Mac to come over and visit. You know, she had already asked her mom's permission, and she okayed it. So he came on over, and she made his dinner. And afterwards they went out and they talked. But he was such a gentleman. He loved to take her hand and kiss it, and you know, he just wasn't aggressive, but he was smooth with what he did.
Smooth.
Yeah.
And you know what? As we were children coming up, I could see that all through him. That's the only vivid memory that I have of him. He was a quiet man. He was a clean man, you know, and he was smooth.
Yes, he was.
He was. Yeah. Continue on. I just had to say that. That's my granddaddy, y'all.
Oh, wow.
Go
so, I don't know. I think that...
Go ahead, pick something out. You want to read it?
Let me see. I don't know.
Wet their palate a little bit. Make them thirst for a little bit more. Yeah. That's good. Yeah,
well, after they had that first meeting, he decided that he wanted to take her on a picnic. Okay. So he was not just wise with his career, he had a little talents under his belt too. Okay. So I'm going to read a little bit about that Sunday picnic.
Okay.
It says, all week long, Della couldn't keep her mind off of Mac. He had a beautiful golden brown complexion with black wavy hair. He had broad shoulders and a nice body. Della decided, this is the man that I want to marry. Della woke up early Sunday morning and started Sunday dinner. She made fried chicken, corn on the cob, biscuits, and slices of cake. She placed these items of food in the picnic basket, along with the silverware and a jug of lemonade. She put a tablecloth in the basket, and Mac told her that he would bring the blanket to sit on. Della heard the horse and buggy coming up to the house, and her stomach did a couple of flip-flops. As he came to the door, her brother Marshall greeted him. He called for Della to come because her company had arrived. Della came into the room with a smile on her face, and John stuck his hand out to grab hers, and Della responded with her hands slipping into his. John helped Della get the buggy packed with food, and they began their journey into the woods down by the river. John found a sunny spot where the sun seemed to glisten on the water. Then he helped Della out of the buggy. She took the quilt and laid it on the ground, and John brought the picnic basket over to the quilt and started helping Della take the food out of it. When the last item had been removed, John gave Della a gentle kiss on her lips, and Della thought she was going to melt as her body tingled all over. They laughed and talked. Then John went to the buggy to get his guitar. He brought it over to Della and softly played it as he sang love songs to her.
Grandpapa was smooth.
Uh-oh.
Grandpapa was smooth. Now, you want to read some more?
Just one little
Go
minute.
ahead.
He's saying, "You are my sunshine.
Mm-hmm.
You make me happy when skies are blue. You never know how much I love you. Please don't take your sunshine away from me." Mac was in no way shy, which just made Della more excited about him. As Mac and Della packed up their things to go home, Mac said, "You are beautiful to me, and you have the prettiest legs I have ever seen." Della smiled at him and said, "Thanks. You are the best-looking man I have ever seen." As they rode home in the buggy, Mac wanted to know when he could see her again. Mac's thoughts were, he didn't want anyone else moving in on this babe that he just met. When he reached the house, he jumped out of the buggy to help Della down to the ground. He stood there waiting for an answer to his question. Della had to laugh. Then she said, "I will be available next Sunday, or Sunday providing you have something exciting for us to do." Then she started to laugh. Mac kissed her hand and said, "Don't you worry. I will take care of the excitement for next week." They both left, and he said his goodbyes. So
Go ahead.
she made him be accountable too.
Yeah.
You know, she wanted him to entice me,
Mhm.
excite me,
Mhm, mhm.
and he was ready for that.
And she gave him room for him to strut his feathers. You know, like the old peacock. You know, the peacock in the bird.
Yeah.
And, you know, the man got all the little feathers. He
Yes.
wants to strut and show
Yes.
my stuff or puff his chest out and all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You know, and she wants to be impressed. And Max strutted his stuff, and she was impressed.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But I knew that in the story, you know, it shows her career, because she did have her.
You know what? That's a good question
Yeah.
because I mean a good point you just brought up. 'Cause I didn't know that
Yeah,
until you.
Yeah.
I read it in there and I had
Yeah.
tell us about that.
yeah. She was a seamstress. She had learned to sew from her grandmother, and that gift was inside of her.
Mhm.
And thank God I was able to get that gift.
Yeah,
too.
the fruit don't fall
Yeah.
too far from the tree. Now,
My
my mother
mother
was sewing, your
was
mother
too.
sewed,
Yeah.
you sewed,
Yeah.
and I should have known. I just thought she picked it up. I didn't know that grandma, before she had children,
Yeah.
had a shop and
Yeah.
all of that. I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
So what I did with the story is shown how Grandpapa allowed her to have her life as well.
Mhm.
You know, they didn't have children for like the first 5 years of their marriage, so they had the opportunity to do anything they wanted to do, and that's where she, you know, showed her skills in
Well,
sewing.
you know, you put in there, and I like the way that you, when you were telling the story, how you did explain and show how supportive he was
Yes.
of her. He was not intimidated behind a woman being strong and
Mhm.
wanting to be independent.
Right.
And she was not so bullheaded in her independence that she did not want to be a woman to her man.
Exactly.
You know, and I thought that concept,
Exactly.
how you showed that, both of
Exactly.
those two different parts,
Yes.
complementary of each other,
Yeah.
you know, and cooperating with each other
Mhm.
and collaborating
Mhm.
on their life together,
Right.
caused both of them to elevate, because now he could be the man that he always wanted to be
Right.
with the woman, and she could be the kind of woman that she
Yeah.
would always want to be with the man,
Yes.
and be her own woman.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He wasn't scared.
No.
You know, and so I thought that was really good. And again, the understory,
Yes.
you know, that you put in there, because
Yeah.
I thought that, in my view, you brought out those again fundamental characters or principles
Mhm.
of what people should strive to have
Exactly.
individually and in a relationship. I thought you brought it out real well.
And I always kept it where I knew that he loved the Lord, and she
Yeah.
did too. And so I kept them going to church, because they did.
They did.
And they raised all their children in the church. God was always in their lives.
You know, and that's good, because when I saw, well, I say I saw because I visualized when I was reading it. I kept visualizing it, and my mind went to how we have so much technology today, right?
Yes.
And it went to in our relationships, and we relate to each other through technology. But in this telling of this story, all they had was each other.
Yes.
He pulled his guitar out.
Yes.
Or they went to church and
Yes.
they took walks.
Yes.
And they sat down and talked. Or they got food and they ate and they discussed over that.
Yes.
But it was so much human interaction
Yes.
that was
Yes.
going on in there, and the richness of it, you could
Yes.
feel it.
Yes.
You know, and that's one thing that really stood out to me. There was nothing about this story that had to do with anything else but the people involved.
Exactly.
There was no anything of this. There was no, even in their work, it came in as an expression of their personalities. When you talked about his work and you talked about her work and wanting to do that, but the communication is what I saw. And to have, it was like a breath of fresh air to read something without any kind of technology.
Yeah.
In it at all.
Yes.
You know, so I love the way you went all the way back like that and brought that out, because this is something that we don't do.
Yeah, that's
You know?
right. It was a little different for me because I've never lived in the early 1900s, but what I would do is I'd go online and Google and find out things that happened back then. What did they do for recreation? And I saw that there was always the state fairs and various things like that. So I would incorporate those kind of things. So, because when you write, a true writer has a great imagination as well. So when you, and then rest of it will just come. It'll just come. But I want it to be as realistic as it possibly can, because I don't want to talk about things that happened here in the 2000 and this was in the 1900s.
Right.
So I have to line up everything that I do that makes sense, you know, where I had to fill in for them.
Well, did you in your writing, because you constantly go back to how, you know, your imagination and how you had to fill it in the inward process of that, did you feel as though, did you lose yourself and feel as though you were in that time zone that
Yes.
the characters were you?
Oh, yes. Oh, that's the good part of it.
Well, tell me, baby.
Yes.
Let me do this real quick. Okay, everybody, here you are. This is, you listening to In Life's Arches program, and this is just a small little intermission that I got to say this on morepublicradiointernational.org. And what we're doing, we're having a conversation with a newly published author of a novelette called Love, Love, Love. And this author is my first cousin. And this love, love, love story is about our grandmother and our grandfather. And so you're privileged and welcomed into this conversation that we're having here in Life's Arches, and we're going back to it. Now, let's go.
All right.
Okay, where were we now?
Well, you were talking about how I got into this story, you know,
Right,
how
yeah.
I got into it. And when I'm getting ready to write, there's a piece that you have to have. So
Okay. Go into that piece, because you
yeah.
mentioned that earlier and everything.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Talk about
yeah.
that a little bit.
If I'm busy and have a lot of things to do, that's not a good day to write. My writing is usually early in the morning, because I'm an early riser, so I need that morning to do what I do, and I need that quietness. So when I would write, I never had a struggle, because people tell me about the writer's block. I don't know what that is yet, and I hope I never do. But once I start to type, things will just start coming. It's like, oh my God, this is just beautiful. And if it's something I don't understand, then that's when I'll go and Google to see what things were going on 1900s. I have them on a boat.
Right.
And you know, back then you really wasn't going to get to go on no cruises.
Right.
But because Grandpapa was the kind of man that he was very friendly with all different races, and people liked him, he had an opportunity to take her on a cruise. It was a Sunday afternoon cruise, but he took her on the cruise.
But, man, that was a cruise, because the way it was laid out, and I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to say it, I'm not going to do it, okay. But anyway, when y'all read the book, you'll read about the cruise, the way he finessed it, and what happened.
I think that was for her birthday.
Yeah, I think it was for her birthday, a surprise. And now, mind you, this is like 100 years ago. You know? And listen, wasn't none of us going on no cruising 100 years ago.
Well, it was a small afternoon cruise,
but it was a big.
He decided to create a situation where, for her birthday, he'd take her and do something special
that was
for
good
her.
Too.
And the way I made it, that he couldn't be where all of the other people would be, so the guy had to do some work on his boat, so he allowed him to use the boat. You know, at a time when nobody else could be on it but them. So it was a nice thing for her, and so that's why that just kept her in love with him, because he was a man that he never let their love get old.
And you said a mouthful then. You know, because I noticed in there there was a constant gift change.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
He was giving her, she was giving him.
Yes.
He was doing for her.
Yes.
She was doing for him.
Yes.
And you know, and then her girlfriend. You know, she had a girlfriend.
Georgia.
You know how y'all go back and tell everything.
Tell
ain't no secret. Y'all she had a tell everything girlfriend.
That's right. She said, I
And
want to know.
Yeah, she told everything. So that
Yes.
tickled me.
Yes,
and whatnot,
yes, yes.
And everything. Now, let me go right back real quickly to when you were talking about this writing and how it comes to you, but you have to do research. But when you actually write, you don't have any thought in your mind prior to that. You said that you just start writing, and then it comes in the act of writing.
Exactly. And I know it's just a gift from God. I just know it is, because there's no way I could just do this on my own. Because when I work, I just get the whole scene. And I can just go through it, and if I'm tired, I have to let it go. But long as I'm at peace and I'm rested, I can just write and write and write. And sometimes I can write for a whole 2 hours straight.
Well, now let me ask you this quick question real quickly. How long did it take you to actually write this book?
This book took me about a year. And the reason it took a year is because I didn't work every day.
Okay.
And, that's why if I would never really want to be under no published company where they want me to pay me to do it, because then if I didn't want to write for a month, they're looking for my work, and I'm not that kind.
Because they gave you some money and said, now you got to go to work.
Now you got to do it. And so I'd rather do what I want to do, do the self-publishing, and then I have fun with it. I can enjoy it, and I'm relaxed. So I took like months off when I wouldn't even write, And then one day I feel like I want to write today. And I'd sit down and I just go for it. And so I'm working on the second book of
That's a good segue, because I was going to it, because now you have volume 1.
Yeah.
And let's go. What about volume 2? I'm not going to tell everybody where volume 1 leaves off. You got to read it.
Well, volume 2, what I'm really going to do is it's probably going to be a couple of volumes, maybe probably to about volume 4 or 5, because I'm going to write about all of the 14 grandchildren, 14 children they had. And I don't want to put them all in one book. And so I want to just kind of ease them in through the chapters, because I've been getting flack from different cousins who I want my mama in there, and I want my daddy in there.
I heard it.
I've got to figure out how to work that in, and I don't know how it's going to come, but I'm going to enjoy doing it. So I have to do the books set up with till I get all 14 children.
Okay, well then you're going to have to do a lot of research then to try to fix it up and get your story.
I'm already involved with that now, and when I had the book signing a couple of weeks ago, I was listening to conversations, and I says, I'll take my mental notes, because some of that stuff I'm going to use to take it on down till I get to the very end, because each cousin wants their parent in one of the books, and so their mom is in the next book.
Yeah, because I'm gonna tell the story. She left off in this one. All right, she was at the tail end of this. She hadn't got here yet, but she was on her way.
She was on her way.
Oh, belly was swelling.
And so in the next book, it's talking about her now.
Well, when can we expect the next book?
I'm hoping. I'm trying to be nice. I'm hoping to probably in about another 2 months I'll have the next one ready.
That's good.
Yeah, because I'm halfway finished now. And
well, now I'm going to say this right now. When you get the next one, I want a commitment right now to we're gonna have to do it again.
Okay.
Okay, let's do it again.
Oh,
all right. Yeah, let's do it again.
That'll be fun.
We go after I've read it, and we do that. By the way, you have another book already out, right?
Yes, I have a book that I wrote about my mom. It's private, but
private meaning.
Private meaning it's all about her life and our lives and her children and her grandchildren's lives. And I did this. My mom I started at 4 years old, and I went through her life all the way till now.
Since we have a camera here, show them to the camera just what this book is. Yeah, you got it. And this is strictly about your mother and your siblings and all of this kind of stuff like that.
I had the grandchildren write notes to her, and I put their pictures in, and they wrote things to her. I put pictures in, and now I'm 62, and this was when my mom was 62.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Isn't that
so,
something?
and then I put in here when she turned 80.
Mhm.
Now, this is when my mom was 23. And
Let me see. Wait a minute. I got to get my other eyes because
Oh,
now I can tell it's in color and the one is in black and white, but I can't make nothing out. It's not
Well,
crystal
Mama
clear.
was 23
Wow.
styling,
Mhm.
and then her granddaughter,
Styling
The
at 27, the
same
same
way.
pose. Is that nothing?
and she had never seen that picture.
Wow.
So that was just amazing when I saw that, and I put that in there.
Mhm.
I put in here about my mom being able to make history by being able to vote for the first black president.
Mhm.
This is when my mom was 80 years
So
old.
this really is like an honorarium
Yeah.
to her. It's like
And-
you know,
and
yeah.
it talks about different people,
Mhm.
you know, and I'm a picture taker, so
Right.
I put everything. You
Yeah,
see your mom and dad is
yeah,
in here.
yeah. I remember that family reunion.
50
Those at-
years.
Yeah, at Marzel's house.
Yeah, that was grandmama and grandpapa had been married 50
years in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I put your brother was
Uh-huh.
born the same day as my mom.
That's right. That's right. Look
So
at
I
it.
put pictures of him in here.
Oh, and somebody else was born the same day on July 4th in the book. I don't know who it was. I remember seeing somebody's birthday was
My
on there.
mom's.
I know, but no,
She's fine.
someone in the book in here. Not her. Not Rita.
Oh, okay.
Someone else.
Yeah, I don't remember. So then these is her great grandchildren who
Mhm.
graduated, and she was able to make most of them. And then because my mother now is a fifth generation, I put in the people who made her that
Right,
fifth generation,
right.
you know. And so I did these things, and this is just a private book.
Right.
Even grandmama,
Mhm.
when our cousin made her a fifth generation,
Right.
and she was 80 years old.
Oh, this is nice.
I
It's a
just-
chronicle. Yeah.
I put pictures in when
Oh,
my mom
little
used
mama.
to come
Yeah.
and read the Bible to her. You
Mhm.
know, it's just been personal things that I.
You got Mama when she was 93.
Yeah. So and
Uncle
then,
Bubba? Is that Uncle Bubba?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got all of her brothers and sisters in here. So it's just a book about her life.
Okay, so this book is not for the public. This is
Oh,
a
no.
family book.
No.
That's what this is. Here's
This
a family
just
book.
tells
Yeah,
about-
this is beautiful,
I
though.
got it when my mom got baptized
Mhm.
and everything. So, and all of her son-in-laws and daughter-in-laws, and so it's just a private book of her life, and this is for our families.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
First
good.
car that I ever got to drive when I was 12 years old.
Big old Cadillac.
Yeah. And my mother was a dental assistant.
I remember
so-
we were talking about it on the way
Yeah.
over here when I used to see her over there.
So
Yeah.
I got that in here. So it's just a book, and then the house I lived in all my life. I just put everything that I could think of dealing with my mom's life, and when I was 4 and my brother was 3 and my sister was 2.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not a book that's gonna ever be for the public.
Right.
It's just
But this
private.
is a good idea, everyone.
Mhm.
It's just a book for family. It's a family history, a family record and everything. And all of her sisters and brothers and mother and fathers
Yeah.
in here. That's a wonderful job, cuz
Yeah.
I really appreciate that you've done that.
Yeah.
I really like that. Now, let's get on back down here to this next book that's coming out with all the other folks coming in on that. We got about, how many more minutes do we have left? We got about 20 minutes. We got some more talking. Yeah, we can talk for a while.
Okay.
Now, so we're gonna chew it up. Now at the book signing, I remember cousin Maxine was reading.
Oh
Now
yeah.
I really believe that Mac should do a book audio. What do you call it? Audio book. Maxine was reading.
Oh yeah.
Cause she was reading.
Yes, she was. Yes, she
and
was.
because we were talking about knowing.
Knowing.
And now, for all those who don't know what knowing is, I think Cuz is going to read what knowing is. Because, you see, good John, Mac Russell, and Della Russell was doing a lot of knowing.
Okay.
You know?
They had to know each other
They had to
to get
know
14
each other.
children.
Yeah, to get 14 kids. and good cousin Mac was reading it.
Oh yeah, she said she thought that was wonderful.
It was.
Yeah.
I thought it was. That was, well, it showed a lot because that was at the, I believe, at the wedding, right?
After the wedding.
After the wedding.
Yeah.
Don't tell them everything, but I guess you
No.
can read about the knowing, huh?
You think I should read about that
I
knowing?
don't know if you want to. You got to let Mac read it on the audio book.
I think Mac
Okay.
ought to do something about that.
All right, Mac, you just got voted. You're going to have to read the knowing on the audio book when it comes out. That's what you're going to have
He
to
got
do.
to know her, and she got to know him.
Yeah, so don't do that. Let Mac do that.
Yeah, that was good. That was
Yeah,
good.
it was.
Yeah, but the next book is a spin-off from this one, you know, and because it was some I think, was this where her boutique burned down at the end?
Right.
And then it's, we're going to go on in to find out who burnt that.
Right, because they hinted.
Yes, they hinted.
It was a little hint.
And so this next one is going to tell you who actually did it and what was done about it, because there was some excitement about.
Okay, we started in 1905, 1907 here, and we went on up to what, like 1908, no, right, and this one, I think was it 1908? Oh, they got married.
They got married in 1908.
Right, that was the year my daddy was born.
Okay, well, then your mom was born in 1914.
Right, so that's where we were, right.
So we had come all the way up to 1914.
And so the next book is going to cover
start there and
go to
show what happened and all the things that was going on, because it's truly a love story. It's emotions. It's how do you deal with situations when things come in your life?
Okay, now when you say situations, you want to talk about one of the situations that they had to deal with before they were married? Talk about that.
Grandpapa had a daughter before he ever met Grandmama, and so when he met Grandmama, he didn't really know how to tell her, but he from dating her, he decided that I love her enough that I'm gonna put it out there and see what she says, and that's what he did. He had to come forth, but it didn't come forth the way he had planned it.
Okay.
Yeah, he didn't. He thought he was going to go and have dinner with her, and now I'm going to tell you that I have a daughter, but
things didn't work out quite.
It didn't work, but things don't.
No, it don't.
Way.
It's given to you, and then you have to work with it. Right.
Exactly. And so, in the midst of that, she had to find out the hard way that he had a daughter, but because of the love for each other, they were able to work that out.
So is that what you was trying to show when you brought that situation? Because that's a real life issue that really did exist. I mean, he had another daughter.
Exactly. So a lot of times we're not honest with each other first, and he had to have a talk with his mom. I want to talk about this. What do I do? Because I don't want her to leave me and not want to be with me because I have a child already and she doesn't have any children.
Right.
But he had a mother that loved God too, and she shared with him how he should deal with this, and in the end, it all worked out.
Yeah, it did.
She had to learn the hard way about him having a child, and that's, you don't want to be surprised.
Well, I have to give him some credit because, in this respect, because, he has a child, and he's not married to the mother of that child.
Right.
And yet now here he finds this woman that he loves. She's younger than him. She doesn't have any children. She doesn't even know that he has a child.
Right.
But yet he's concerned about putting his life's burden on her.
Right.
So I have to take my hat off to the cat. Grandpapa, you was a stand-up guy. You was considerate about that. And I think that's what you were showing. That's why I keep going back to this understory that you have up in there about quality.
He loved his child, and Grandmama accepted that child. Yeah, and they would keep her, and
because you didn't show any bitterness in there about her about having a child. Of course, there was a little sadness in there, and I ain't gonna get into that on another note. But something I had a thought here that was about something, and
it was at that senior moment.
Yeah, well, okay. all right, okay. I'll go for it. I use senior board tickets, right? I had a thought because just prior to us talking about that, something came up in my mind, but it'll come back. It'll come back around sometime.
But all through the story, it showed a person how to live, how to go through things, and it stems right back to communication.
Right.
Love.
Right.
And that's what they had, which made it easy for them to move through the different, because they had more than one situation come up. But they were always able to handle those situations, correct whatever needed to be corrected. Grandmama was no person that she just fall for anything. You're going to be straight up with me, and he was going to be straight up with her.
And in fact, about it, if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't like maybe a formal pact, but they did make that some kind of agreement like that. This is what we're going to do. We're going to be this way. I think that's really, really, really important to be that clear and that honest and that open. I was really impressed when I read that, because having never known that in their early life, I saw it in them. That, listen, now, I'm going to tell you the truth. Mac, Della, I'm going to tell you, this is what it is. They never said those words, but I could see it in their demonstration, in their actions.
Exactly. Because a lot of times people won't be forthcoming
Mhm.
in their life. They want to impress more than being honest.
Mhm.
And you can't have a relationship with anybody if you're not going to be honest.
Exactly.
If I like shoes and I hide them from you,
Mhm.
then I'm not being honest.
Right.
Because every time I see a sale, or if not a sale, if
Breaking
I like
wine.
you, I'm going to buy it. So you need to be a person that say, you know what,
Mhm.
if you can't handle me being a shoe buyer, then you need to tell me up front.
Mhm.
I need to say, okay, maybe I won't buy shoes every day, but I'll buy them once a week.
Well, I think that's really important because, number one, how can you know if someone is going to be able to accept you if you don't dare to be your whole self?
Amen.
How will you know?
Mm-hmm.
If what you're doing when you come to the table of the relationship and you bring in other than yourself, you bring in a false representation of yourself to get along,
Exactly.
you know, or to receive,
Exactly.
or whatever the case may be,
Mhm.
how do you know somebody's going to dig you if you're not really throwing you out there on the table? You don't know. And
That's
how
why
can they accept?
relationships fall.
Yeah.
Because you're not really honest, and then they don't work. And they had to go through things, and they put it all on the table.
Now, to me, I'm going to tell you, it sounds like by you writing this book, that, and I think I said this to you, that you were your own personal therapist, or
Yes.
Della and Mac was, because that's what I'm hearing from you. I'm hearing a person that has come to a certain degree of
Yeah.
acceptance after having traveling things,
Yeah.
and talked about her likes and her dislikes,
Mhm.
and her dislikes brought her to what she liked, and
Mhm.
her not wanting brought her to what she wanted, and now you clear because when you didn't know what you wanted, it brought you couldn't know what you wanted if you didn't know what you didn't want.
Right.
And then your knowing that you didn't want brought you to being clear about what you do want.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm seeing in the book.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I want to talk about your therapy.
But you stop it now.
Because really, I
It
mean,
is.
most people, and it's okay to have to go to someone else and talk.
Yes.
That's good because we all need to be able to vent, breathe,
Mhm.
and have some space where we can express the truth of ourselves. It doesn't always have to be a $150 hour a stranger.
Exactly.
You know, and so what I'm saying is that through your writing and your passion for it, and the way these characters came through you, and you say that peace,
Mhm.
first and foremost, that you came to, and for
Mhm.
this to come, that you arose to a certain level of understanding about your own life
Mhm.
in reviewing and writing and displaying their lives.
Yeah. It changed my life for me.
Yeah, for the
it did.
good too,
It
because
was
you got a
good.
calmness about you,
Yeah,
because I'll tell
yeah.
you really do, and you have a kind of what can I say, a certain surety. In other words, you're comfortable with you.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
definitely, because I've been through the valley.
Yeah,
And from writing, I was able to find myself.
hmm
And now, and if I have any struggles, I don't like to fuss anymore.
I heard
'Cause
the hell out of that.
I think I think I was like their mama.
Yeah.
I could go there with
Yeah, yeah. Real quickly, Randy, hold your thought. My daddy said, yeah, Miss Russell, she don't need nobody to fuss with.
Nobody.
Go ahead.
and she'd finish it on. She could fuss, and you could hang up, and she'd still be fussing.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I don't need to fuss.
Yeah.
I need to say what I need to say.
Mhm.
And when I'm finished saying it, I can say, well, now what you want for dinner?
Right. You finished.
Yeah, I'm finished.
It ain't coming
I can
back up again
laugh,
down
and
the
I can
road.
talk.
It's over.
I'm through with it.
Good.
Oh, you want to go out? Let's go to the movie.
Well, that's a good thing.
And
That's a good thing.
it's shocked him because he's like, wow,
Mhm.
she just let me know I don't like what you did.
Mhm.
You better not do it again.
Mhm.
And now you want to go out?
But you know what? Each individual has a right to stand for what they want and to
Mhm.
stand against
Exactly.
what they want. You have that right
Mhm.
as a human being,
Right.
not as somebody's wife, not as somebody's husband, not as
Right.
somebody's brother, sister, but you have that right as an individual person
Exactly.
to draw your own lines around you.
Mhm.
Now, this is my no trespassing zone.
Right. That's right.
You know?
That's
so
right.
now, all right, I didn't warn you and told you.
They always said it was a thin line between love and hate.
Mhm.
And if we don't know where we stand,
Mhm.
we can cross over at any time.
That's right. That's right.
And it'd be hate
And it could
forever.
whoa, and now remember about that hate thing. You know, acid is gonna burn the hole there as well as the one that's being thrown on when you get it on it. She said, if you holding that hate now, dog, you could, hey,
Yeah.
you listen. The harm has to come to you first in order for you to
Exactly.
harbor it to want to
Exactly.
do harm to someone else.
Exactly.
You got to originate somewhere.
And Grandmama and Grandpapa, I guess, figured that out a long time ago.
Mhm. It seemed to me like they did it from the beginning. There was
Yeah.
something about them that they had so much. I guess they dug each other. They liked each other. When
Yeah.
the individuals that they saw, because you described that glance.
Yes.
You know,
Mhm. Yeah.
and that glance, man, I'm telling you, when you see into someone, you don't just see someone.
But the Bible says when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, he found her,
Mhm.
you know, because he came to her church, and
Right.
he saw her, and he went after her.
Mhm.
And if you keep it that way, you know, because young people now, they think they need to run, and these young girls think, I need to go find him. You don't need to find him. He can find you.
Mhm. You know what it seemed to me like is that, you know, I was listening to someone or I was reading something, and we all, you know how we talk about, man, I get good vibes with them, you know,
Yes.
we talk about vibrations,
Yes.
right? They were a vibrational match,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
They were, and
Yes,
when I say a
yes.
vibrational match, you know, when you play a horn or instrument, they have a tuning thing, you know, and the tuning instrument is all about the vibrations of the string.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mhm.
and if you got a tuning fork or whatever, or if I had two pianos over here and I hit one string over here, it's going to vibrate the other string over here that it's in
Right.
harmony with.
Exactly.
You
Mhm.
see, and so this is what I saw in them. They were a vibrational match, and that harmony
They were. Till
all the way to the end, and that's what allowed
And
them to overcome.
What I understand that when Grandpapa finally died, she says no other man will take his place.
Yeah, and it wasn't.
And she lived the rest of her
Yeah.
life by herself.
That's right.
She did not want
Right.
anybody else to take
He was a hard act to follow. Number one, all the kids and all the kids.
That's
Now,
right.
come on. You know, that was a hard act to follow. And wait a minute. And then by the time she got down there, when snow was on the mountaintop
Yeah.
and everything, she don't. Hey, you go, just go somewhere.
But
you know, they had it got white
There were
together.
men that was looking at her when
Yeah,
Grandpapa
in
died.
the church. In the church. I remember when I was a little kid. Don't
Yeah.
listen. You
Don't put no names.
Okay, I sure going to tell. No, but yeah,
There
I
was
remember
men
that.
that were looking at her.
Yeah.
They were thinking, "Ooh,
You remember when the church used to be in North Richmond?
Yes.
Long before it went over there on 15th Street,
Yes.
and they used to get us up and make us go there. And
Yes.
they give us some money to put in the thing, and we leave Sunday school and run to the liquor store, and then they put us and come back in there. And Grandpapa was a what do you call him? A prayer warrior, if
Yes.
you will.
Mhm.
He was known throughout the community as I grew and began to talk to me, and as that type of person with wisdom.
Mhm.
You
Yes.
know, and Smitty used to say that he felt that it was through his prayers that, you know, our lives were
Mhm.
being blessed and everything.
Oh,
because
yes.
he was that sincere.
That's right.
I heard Mama
Love
say,
his family.
was it
Mhm.
Daddy or Mama? One of them said that when he joined Church of Christ and he used to read the Bible continuously. You even mentioned it in the book.
Mhm. Yeah.
And they asked, why you read it so much? He said, because I'm trying to find the truth. He said, well, ain't the
Yeah.
truth there? He said, well, I don't know it yet, but I'm still looking for it,
Yeah.
or something of that nature,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm.
But in any event, yeah, it was the one of them senior moments. I don't know where I was going, but I was going somewhere with it. You know. Anyway, that's the way conversation flows.
That's
We
right.
end up
That's
somewhere,
right.
you know.
That's right.
But anyway, this is what we're doing. We're just having a ball here in Life's Orchards, and the show is named In Life's Orchards because this is where the seeds of thought, good feeling, good nature are sown to grow into bountiful harvest of prosperity and understanding and comprehension and collaboration and mutual elevation for us. And so we're in Life's Orchards, and we're having a conversation here about the lives of two people in Life's Orchards that grew and blossomed to a whole family of people.
Yeah, that's right.
Wonderful fruit.
That's
and
right.
this book is a fruit of that seed. And how much time we got? 3 minutes? We got 3 minutes. Okay, cuz, look. Here's what we're going to do these last 3 minutes. I'm going to let you give all your shout-outs, your holler-outs, and everything else that you want to do, and then we're going to wrap it up and get out of this hot box.
Okay. I wanna
Talk to your mama, your brothers, your
I do.
kids, everything.
I want to appreciate my mother because my mother has really shown me how life should be over the years coming up. She's just been there for me. She's the reason that I wrote this book because of doing family history and telling me about our lives. And I'm going to give this shout out to this brother over here that's really helping me to get out there and publish and do the things that I'm doing. And you for saying,
whoa,
the way you make me feel that it's okay for me to write because you tell me things and you encourage me by the things that you say.
Well, I'm glad because that's what I want to do because you deserve it. If I didn't see it, I couldn't say it.
That's right.
You know, that's what it is. So, everyone, that was my cousin LaDonna Alexander. You know, and her book, her first book. I'm going to put it up for the camera because we got a camera here. Love, Love, Love. It's a book that you all should read. Oh, by the way, and in your new Post paper, this is her at her book signing in the Richmond Post. I don't know if we can have it, if you can get that up there. She's on the cover of that. And I'm so excited, and I'm more than excited. I'm enthusiastic about
Thank
your writing, the way your life is going, and the direction. And we're going to have to be getting up out of here in a minute, but I just want to tell everyone how much we appreciate you, and I hope you enjoyed our conversation. And what we want you to do is when you tune in again to In Life's Arches on More Public Radio, international.org, remember, this is not a talk radio, this is a thought radio show. And that's what we do. We try to produce productive thoughts and prosperous thoughts and harmonious thoughts. And with that, this is Vernon Robinson, my cousin LaDonna, my cousin Bobby, my wonderful daughter Tamika, or I call BB, baby. Over here, Miss Woods, we thank everyone, and we thank all of you out there for your attention, and we invite you back again when we have another conversation with her next books. And Qualam, that's right. Brother, my cousin told me that you had invited her onto the show some time ago, before I came on board.
Yes.
And well, now she's here, and I can't wait to get you a copy of the tape, and we have a video of it too, and I hope the video goes along, because it's your first interview,
Yes.
your first recording
Yes.
of your first interview,
Yes.
along with your first publication, and I think it'll be a good idea for you to have that video stuck off into your first
All
book.
right. Thank you.
Okay, everyone, this is me, Vernon Robinson, and thank you again, and we want to leave everyone with a wonderful thought, and that thought is this: it's never too late to become what you would have been. It's never too late to become what you would have been. Whatever you would have been had you not gotten sidetracked, or had your hopes not been dashed on the rocks of despair in life, or you had not been afraid and didn't dare, it's never too late to become what you would have been.
Let me
Because
say this.
yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Live on purpose.
Hush your mouth and keep on talking, and that's
Okay.
it. That's the show. All right, we out of here, y'all.
And I look at you, and the world's alright with me. Just one look at you, and I know it's